Baylor's finally doing it. They are completely blowing up their defense.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the world. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and the Rogue Media Sports Network. I appreciate you guys making it your first listen today and every day. We're looking at who has already entered the transfer portal for the Baylor Bears and what this specifically says about one position in particular. Plus, will there be a quarterback battle this spring, this summer, maybe next fall for the Baylor Bears? And speaking of that position, does college football have a quarterback problem? There's a pretty damning tweet that's out there that kind of signifies this or shows this, and Baylor could be caught up in the middle of it next fall. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. We start where we start. Transfer portal. Y'all, it's about to heat up. Man, it is about to heat up big time. At the time of recording, we are 2 weeks away from that transfer portal opening up January the 2nd. And Baylor has already, of course, dipped their toes in. Nobody is coming to Baylor yet. It's all going outward. But I found a pretty interesting kind of trend of the guys who are leaving in the portal. So let's go over some of the names. DJ Coleman, safety. Man, your leading interceptions guy this year. He's going out. Cornerback, Caden Jenkins. Phoenix Jackson, that one hurts. I didn't like seeing that one. Linebacker, Jeremy Evans, linebacker. And then what you have after that, Sean Tompkins on the offensive line, Wes Tucker on the offensive line, Joe Crocker on the offensive line, Tonga Loalia, I think I said that right, on the defensive line, DK Kalu on the defensive line. And when Dave Aranda said right after the season, we need to build from the lines outward, from the inside out, he was not kidding. Because here are a bunch of linemen, both sides of the ball, that are saying, we don't have a spot here. And that is where it sounds like Baylor football has been making some tough decisions. You know, these guys who already weren't getting a ton of snaps are now seeing the coaches out there saying right after the last game that we need better offensive and defensive linemen here. That's not a good sign. And Joe Klanderman said it from his introductory press conference. Like, we need to change everything. We need to blow this thing up. We need to overhaul it. We need to get our guys in the portal. And that's pretty damning right there, that 3/4 of your guys who've already announced that they're going in the transfer portal are offensive and defensive linemen. We've kind of seen the game before. I'm not going to say this is revolutionary for Dave Aranda in his time here. You know, it's usually coaches that he's replacing, sometimes with himself. But this time it seems to be players and the actual personnel on the field. And this is where college football gets more cutthroat than it's ever been. And college football has been cutthroat before. We've all seen Rudy. We know how strict those guidelines are for how many players can dress and all that. But I think in the transfer portal era, what you're seeing more than ever are coaches and coaching staffs having honest and open discussions with their players. And this is not an accusation. I'm not saying that Dave Aranda is doing this, because I obviously don't have any idea. And I don't know if it goes quite this far, but almost to the point of coaches saying, you should probably go in the portal. You know, again, I don't think coaches are pushing them to that or anything, but probably having an open and honest discussion of, you need to improve like significantly if you are going to be a part of the rotation at this position next year. And we are going to be hunting that position in the transfer portal. And in terms of, I don't want to call out anyone in particular, but in terms of the crop that is leaving Baylor so far. Phoenix Jackson, we didn't get to see enough of him because he got hurt. He and Travion Barnes, 2 linebackers they got in the portal last year, both got hurt in, I think, consecutive weeks. I think that's right. And DJ Coleman, a guy who had a good season for Baylor on an improved unit in the defensive backfield. Outside of that, there are a lot of guys who didn't make an impact this year. Some of them didn't even play. Like, I don't think Joe Crocker took a snap after coming in as kind of same position we were talking last year, but needed to improve the offensive line. He comes in from Louisville, and there's some hype there. And he doesn't show up on the field, even in a year where they have a bad offensive line. So far, it's not been debilitating, Baylor's exits in the transfer portal. Again, a guy like Coleman is a tough one to see go. A guy like Phoenix Jackson, you thought you were going to get some more out of him, but he gets hurt. It's not anybody's fault. But it's not debilitating what's happening to them in the transfer portal. What is debilitating is graduation, right? With Sawyer and Michael Trigg and Josh Cameron and all these guys, Devin Bobby even, there's so many guys that played major roles for Baylor this year that are not eligible to be on the team next year. And so while we're 2 weeks away from the portal actually being open and Baylor being able to go out and sign guys and getting commitments from guys, I think you, as a Baylor fan, should be taking this as a positive. No shade on any of these players, but you heard your coach say, we need to get better at these positions, and we are going to get better at these positions, and you can see an exodus at those 2 positions, offensive line and defensive line. That's how cutthroat college football is now. That's how the game needs to be played. And while it's discouraging to see people leaving the program at any program, it's encouraging to see, okay, it looks like this program and these coaches are going to put their money where their mouth is. Almost literally, right? They're going to put their money out there and they're going to splash the cash to build this team from the inside out. Is it too little, too late for Dave Aranda? Probably. Should have been fired twice by now. If I had to put my money down right now, I'm not going to bet it on him lasting the season next year. But if nothing else, your coach said, here's where we need to get better. Here's where we need to get new personnel in here. And personnel starting to go out the door. In terms of guys you recruited, who you're excited about for this next chapter, none of them have left. And I know there's not a ton of guys that are returning that you're really excited about because most of them haven't played. But I'm talking about guys like Jaden Porter, Micah Gifford, who Dave Aranda speaks really highly of, Taz Williams, who's out there on Twitter trying to get video of any offensive lineman, just saying, hey, if you JUCO or portal guys, send me some videos. I'll let Dave know. Guys like that. Cameron Morgan, a defensive line edge rusher, kind of pass rusher kind of guy that you brought in as a 4-star last year. Caleb Burns, like those guys have not put their name in the portal yet. And so at least there is that building block of guys who weren't really a part of our present nor our future entered the portal. Guys who are a part of our future have not yet. And none of the quarterbacks have entered yet. Again, we still got like a month of this thing. But none of your quarterbacks have entered yet. And with all this talk about DJ Lagway, is there going to be a quarterback battle in Waco again next year? Let's talk about it next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode of Locked On Baylor is brought to you by our friends over at Wayfair. It's happened again. The holidays have snuck up on you. They have snuck up on me. Wayfair is here to help us less than a week till Christmas, okay? They have got you covered for those final seasonal touches, the new bedding, quick room refresh. They've got you. It's your one-stop shop for everything home. Decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, gifts for every style, and more importantly, every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. The selection is huge, and these Wayfair items you will order, they'll instantly refresh your space without needing to have a big project. They've got guides, they've got tons of options, and something for everyone on any budget, and no massive delivery fees either. So a lot less stress this holiday season. Get last minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You know them, you love them, and more than that, you love NFL Sundays, and you know that they move fast. And what makes it so exciting is live betting with FanDuel. You can place the bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when that game starts to shift. You know the momentum swing, right? Quarterback gets hot. Defense tightens up. Momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjusting instantly. Live player props, updates as the guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and so much more. Keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Once again, that's FanDuel.com for your NFL live bets. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Back here on Locked On Baylor, on the eve, or actually it is tonight, isn't it? The college football playoff kicking off, and some not too distant neighbors are having fun days. Oklahoma will host a CFP game tonight, and the Aggies down the road will host the college football playoff game tomorrow. And yet here we are talking Baylor and hoping that they can get to one of these in the very near future. We took a year off from it, but it looks like we might have a quarterback battle once again in Waco this spring and possibly into this fall. What makes this even more interesting is the fact that DJ Lagway is a name that is very much on the table. I have people reaching out to me asking what the real chances are. I'm not putting it quite at a 50-50. That would be a heck of a good shot, but not that far off. I'd give it about a 40% chance that DJ Lagway's here from the people that I have heard from. And I think it might come down to money. I think even after a tough season, a 5-star recruit at quarterback who was pretty dang good his freshman year in the SEC, that's $1 million on the open market. You know, so I think DJ will get somewhere close to $1 million wherever he plans to play. And that might be a struggle for Baylor, especially with how much they need to add in the portal. But the other thing here, the flip side of this coin, is there's a real belief, there's a real trust between the Lagway family and Jake Spavital. They really like the way that he has developed quarterbacks, and the resume speaks for itself. That's for damn sure. And so there's a real interest there. Whether it gets over the line, we'll see. And if DJ Lagway comes in, he's probably your quarterback. If he doesn't, you're looking at a QB battle. Once again, not uncommon, not the end of the world in college football. But I find this one at Baylor really, really interesting because the Bears did not do themselves any favors when it comes to next year at the quarterback position as it relates to this season. They did not do themselves any favors. And what I mean by that is on the rare occasion that Sawyer Robertson was not in the game, it was Nate Bennett who was taking the snaps. Like Nate Bennett, I think he's a capable quarterback. He's been a friend of the program, been on the show, Baylor legacy. But I don't think when you look at that quarterback room, you are thinking of Nate Bennett as your quarterback of the future. You're probably thinking maybe Edward Griffin, the guy who rose to a 4-star quarterback at Coppell in his senior year and stuck with Baylor in that 2024 recruiting class. or excuse me, 24, 25. Recruiting class stuck with him. Dave Aranda spoke really, really highly of Edward Griffin a few different times during the spring and the fall. You could be thinking that guy's your quarterback of the future. He didn't take a snap all year. Or maybe you're thinking of Walker White, the 4-star recruit who came in through the portal from Auburn last year. You know, we talk about DJ Lagway being the number 1 quarterback in that recruiting class. Walker White was the number 6 quarterback. So we're not talking about a huge drop-off here. You've already got that guy in your backyard. He took more snaps at Auburn as a true freshman than he did at Baylor as a redshirt freshman. And I talked about that earlier in the season. I think it was the Samford game, which would make sense in terms of, you know, the backup quarterback playing. And I just found it very odd that Nate Bennett was the first guy off the bench when you've got Walker White with 3 years of eligibility ready to be your next quarterback, and he didn't see the field at all. Not even in a running package when he's a terrific dual threat quarterback, and Sawyer Robertson wasn't running the ball and was pretty tentative to run the ball. So I just didn't really get that during the season. And here's a guy who has already hit the portal 1 year into his college career, and he's supposed to be the future of that position for you, and you just didn't even give him a shot. Now you've got a potential quarterback battle with the 2 guys who you actually believe to be the future of your program, Edward Griffin and Walker White, and neither of them have taken a snap for the Baylor Bears. And so you're starting from zero, from absolute zero. And it becomes very, very interesting here because they both have basically the same amount of eligibility left. And whomever does not get the job this year, like let's play it out that DJ Lagway does not come, and you're rolling with those 2 guys in a quarterback battle. In today's college football, whomever does not win the battle is leaving. They're going somewhere else. They both have, like, you know, Walker White is 3 years and Edward Griffin is 4 years. So whomever is not winning the battle is not sticking around. They're not gray shirting like Bryce Petty did. So now you're in a position, not that if Walker White took, you know, played a quarter of football this season, that probably wasn't going to fix this scenario. You'd just probably have a better idea of what you have. But only one of those guys is going to play for Baylor. That's my prediction in December here. Only one of those guys is going to play for us. And you put your head coach in a position, well, the head coach put the coach in the position that he's on borrowed time and any week could be his last next season. And now he's mortgaging the future on one of these quarterbacks. And if he gets that decision wrong, which he's done a couple of times, that's all he'll have. You know, he made the decision with Blake Shapen over Gary Bohannon. That wasn't the most outright wrong decision, right? You know, I know people were upset with Shapen, but it's not like Gary had a terrific career after that. Probably would have worked a little bit better in the Jeff Grimes offense as we saw in 2021. But you didn't pick him, and he was gone. He left in the transfer portal in the spring. You know, you didn't choose Sawyer Robertson over DeQuan Finn, and you let it play out all the way into August so that Sawyer couldn't hit the portal, but that was the wrong decision. And if DeQuan Finn doesn't get hurt, who knows how long it takes Sawyer Robertson to get in there. So you're dealing with a staff and a head coach who makes these decisions, who has not been great at doing that, you know, kind of lucked into Sawyer Robertson a little bit. And now his job might hinge upon that. And it would be painful for Baylor fans to once again see a quarterback that they could have had go somewhere else, whether it be as a starter or just as a recruit in general. So anyway, if you had to choose right now in December of 2025, who is going to be the Baylor Bears starting quarterback in 2026? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, we're dropping every morning on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. Number one Baylor football show on YouTube, thanks to you guys. Let's continue to talk about quarterback, shall we? Because college football might well have a quarterback problem, and it's probably about to rear its ugly head towards Baylor right now. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, Rocket Money. Guys ever get to the end of the month and say, where did my money go? It happens all the time, and it happens fast, okay? A few subscriptions here, impulse buy there. Maybe you really wanted to order in a couple of nights in a row, and then suddenly the numbers in your bank account do not match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get the clarity that you need. It helps you track every dollar and stay in control of your finances, because managing your money should not feel like a second job. Rocket Money is going to do the heavy lifting for you. I like how they automatically build budgets based on your past spending. It keeps you on track without needing to overthink it. And having the app find good times to save money each month keeps you consistent with all your financial goals. Big for the New Year's resolutions that are coming up in a couple of weeks. So take control of your finances and cancel those unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/LOCKEDON, locked on, all one word. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Rounding out this week with some more quarterback talk here on Locked On Baylor. And I'm going to do something I rarely do, and that is base this segment off a tweet I saw. Because I find it very, very interesting. And this is actually a tweet coming from the NFL, or talking about the NFL. And I think it really relates to what we're seeing in college football and what we could be seeing with Baylor in the very near future. This is from Sam Block, and he talks about first-round quarterbacks since 2020. This is not all the first-round quarterbacks taken, but Tua Tagovailoa, benched. Justin Fields, benched. Zach Wilson, benched. Trey Lance, benched. Mac Jones, benched. Bryce Young, benched. Kenny Pickett, benched. Anthony Richardson, benched. And all but two of those guys have been traded. And he ends the tweet with, the NFL has a quarterback development problem. And I'm willing to take it a step further, because the NFL has a patience problem. But really what it is, when I see this tweet, is college football has a quarterback development problem. And potentially even high school football has a quarterback development problem. And we're seeing it a lot in college football now with names like Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway and Brendan Sorsby and these quarterbacks that hit the transfer portal all the time. Sawyer Robertson, a guy who wasn't getting playing time at Mississippi State, enters the portal. It happens all the time, and it's tough to blame the players, right? Like, you want a chance to play. I totally get that. But it goes to a deeper problem in football. And that is, these guys change systems in college, 2 or 3 times, some of them, TJ Finley 7 times. And they're playing for different quarterback coaches, different coordinators, different head coaches in different conferences, in different systems. Like, that stunts your growth. It absolutely does. And, I don't think any of these guys actually hit the portal in their college time. I think it was, Justin Fields did. But it's a little bit different of a time. It wasn't really portal heavy. But that is not going to help quarterbacks at the NFL nor in the college level either. And Baylor's about to potentially experience that again by bringing in someone like DJ Lagway. And before him, it was Daquan Finn and Sawyer Robertson. And, you see these guys, Charlie Brewer and Gary Bohannon, leaving Baylor, Blake Shapen leaving Baylor, and the grass isn't always greener, because you are on a very limited schedule when it comes to college football, and you don't have the room to develop. There's no preseason games. There's no joint practices and training camps. There's none of that. And so, yeah, you can look at it and say, the NFL, they're too impatient with their quarterbacks, and I'd agree with you. I think that is very much the case. But it also comes down to, where were they playing before? Where did those college guys develop? Who was coaching them? Oh, well, the answer is 3 different guys. It's another thing to compare it to the NFL, like when we saw Ryan Tannehill, for example. Remember him? He played like 5 different OCs in his first 5 years. And everyone was like, oh, man, feel so bad for the kid. How is he supposed to get his footing? We're seeing it in college football all the time. And to take it even a step further, we see it in high school football. These guys that get to college and they've never taken a snap from under center because they're playing no huddle shotgun offenses in high school football. There is a problem here. There is a problem. And obviously with quarterback, there's more emphasis on that position in the transfer portal than any other position. It's the most expensive one. It's the one that has the highest rate of turnover, no pun intended. And it's one that is the most coveted from college programs. And that probably goes hand in hand with the other 2 reasons. But I talked about it yesterday, man. And I still believe this to be true. Like if Baylor gets DJ Lagway in the portal, that is the only position that you can get and it instantly changes your odds. It's the only one. Is it the most important for Baylor this year? No, it's not. They need to fix offensive line and defensive line first and foremost. But that is the one position that people point at and say, we can change our fortunes instantly by getting these guys in the door. Quarterback, that's the position. So is there a quarterback problem in college football? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Really helps me on the path towards 5,000 subscribers. Tell your friends because we're running out of time in 2025 to get there. Thank you guys so much for making it your first listen today and every day. Have a terrific weekend, and we will see you on Monday on the next edition of your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.